And good morning. Yes, 333. I know that. For those of you that may be watching for the first time, I almost always do triple numbers. Almost always. Usually 444. Why? Because I consider that master numbers, and 4 grounds the master frequency on the planet Earth. That's my theory. The title for today is Pots, Pans, and Other Solutions. Yes, pots, pans, and other solutions. Okay. Several people, following my rant the day before yesterday, asked, what is the solution? Well, last night I showed the video about the Icelandic Revolution with the same title here at the Mary Horgan Center. The one I just held up, by the way. Perhaps because I had indicated there was a regional problem with the video to most of my local friends that would require watching the video on my laptop rather than the big screen TV. Only one man showed up. One that does not have a computer. Anyway, the video pointed out the second most important item in creating solutions, which is for the people to take action and actually do something more than just complain. Do you know what the first most important item is? It's recognizing the problem and taking responsibility. Without that, there can be no solution. Education comes first, becoming aware. We can resolve the issues we face collectively if we first communicate what those issues are and then peacefully bring remedy. We the people in every nation and community far outnumber the criminals causing the problems, which is meaningless if we choose to remain ignorant. Here's the link to the 1-hour documentary. And yes, it is available on YouTube, and yes, you can watch it, I assume, most anywhere in the world, unless your particular country blocks it. Now, the region, I made the mistake and got the education that when you order a video from Europe or Latin America or some other place than the United States, or if you are in Europe, for example, and you order one from the United States, make sure it's going to be coded for your region. I don't know why they bother coding them at all, but they do. And if you buy a video that's coded differently than your region, you're not going to be able to watch it on your DVD player unless you have one of the modern TVs that you can hook your computer into your TV, which I don't have. So anyway, as I indicated, the only person that showed up last night to watch the video was one man who doesn't have a computer, doesn't have an email address, doesn't watch anything on the internet. And he showed up, and we watched the video and had a discussion. I also showed him part of my video from the day before yesterday, the one that I was doing the ranting, and he responded very much the same as some of you did. Of course, the ones of you that maybe responded that way won't be listening today, so maybe I'm just talking to nobody. But he said, when you're that excited and that emotional in your presentation, I tend to shut down. I don't pay attention to rants. You may have something important to say, but because you're saying it with such passion, I can't hear you. How sad. I mean, seriously, how sad. Although I can relate in this respect, I can't pay much attention to Alex Jones's rants anymore because I've paid attention to them enough to know that he very rarely, if ever, offers solutions. And I heard you, which is why I'm doing today's video. But there can be, as I said in the blurb, no solution whatsoever if we're not first awake to the situation, if we're not willing to even educate ourselves. That's why I get so passionate, because so many people seem oblivious and apathetic and ignorant of what's going on in the world, ignorant of why there's war, ignorant of why there's people being kicked out of their homes, ignorant as to why there's so much sickness and so much disease, ignorant as to why there's poverty, ignorant as to why there are people that don't have clean water to drink, ignorant as to why the problems are what they are. I know what it is. I know what it is. And many people do. But the majority still choose ignorance over information, which doesn't make sense to me. I wish I could take you and shake you, those of you that don't want to pay attention. And many of you that listen know people just like what I'm describing. They don't want to pay attention. They're unwilling to think outside their comfort zone, outside the box that's been nicely prepared by those that want to run the world, who are actually doing us a favor that has the capability of waking us up if we would only pay attention. But we don't. We don't. In Iceland, there were enough educated people to realize how to address the problem and come up with solutions. Some of the solutions they came up with are they rewrote their constitution. And people that were involved in politics, they created numerous political parties. And they created rules so that even in a democracy, the minority was protected, which is a republic, by the way. But if people were going to run for office, they couldn't be a politician. They realized that we have to control the media. And people that are involved in banking cannot control the media. And banks cannot loan money that they don't actually have. They can't create money or bring money into the system by debt. And governments have to take responsibility for issuing the money without borrowing it to the people for the people's use. They came up with actual solutions, but it required political involvement. And one of the solutions they came up with is that it had to be ordinary people, and that they couldn't stay in the government for prolonged periods of time. Because if you allow people to stay in for prolonged periods of time, you get corruption. Because there are people that will corrupt the people that hold the positions forever. And if you're constantly letting new people into the system, so that you actually have sort of like a council, a community council that governs, well then you can create solutions that are real and viable and sustainable. But you can't do it when the whole system is based on borrowing from people that don't even have it and convince you that they have the right to create money out of thin air. People in Iceland realize that, and they've turned their nation around. It's now one of the most prosperous, if not the most prosperous nation in Europe. Why? Because they rejected the paradigm that we've been operating under of allowing the central banks to create the money supply and then buy the governments, own the corporations, control the media, control the pharmaceutical industry, control the military, control the police forces, control everything in our world. Is that the world that you and I want? Many of us say no. And we want solutions, and there are solutions, there are remedies, lawful and peaceful remedies. But they can't happen. They can't happen until enough people pay attention and become aware of what the problem really is and know the truth. You shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free. But if you're unwilling to learn the truth because you think you already have it, because you think that, well, the Bible said it, or God said it in the Bible, and I believe it, and that settles it, or God said it in the Quran, and that's inspired, and Muhammad gave us the foundation. Don't you realize that our religions have been corrupted too? There's no such thing as a pure religion. In the Bible it says pure religion is this: visiting the homeless and the sick and the imprisoned, visiting them, showing them love. That's pure religion. It's not believing a bunch of dogmas that make you feel self-righteous and that make you feel spiritually superior. That will never cut it. And believe me, that attitude even permeates the New Age, which is not an institutionalized yet religion, and hopefully never will become one. It's just a conglomerate, an amalgamation, I guess is a better word, of a whole bunch of disconnected people who are fed up with the system as it has been and are looking for alternatives. But they choose the same attitude as people in the religions and think that, well, now that I've discovered some what I consider to be New Age truths, I'm okay. I'm awake. Yeah, you're awake a little bit. But if you don't admit the problem, which many in the New Age don't, then you're not going to even think about creating solutions, because you're not even admitting the reason why solutions need to be created. You're ignorant of it. And you are willfully ignorant because some of the New Age doctrines have been put forth that twist the truth just enough to make it powerless so that it doesn't liberate you and doesn't set you free. Do you see what I'm trying to say? We have the power. We've always had the power. But we haven't had the will. We haven't had the knowledge. We haven't had the wisdom. Are we going to get it in 2012? Somebody asked me yesterday, what do you think about 2012? Somebody that's new, that's just discovered my videos, obviously. Well, I think 2012 is like every other year in this respect. There's the potential for people to wake up. There's the potential for people to take responsibility and hold those that are public servants, as they did in Iceland, accountable for their actions. And if their actions have caused loss and harm to others, they need to pay a penalty for that of some type. Or they need to totally come clean and repent and turn away from doing that which causes others harm. That's the problem that we have in this world. The people that have risen to the top, if you will, don't have accountability, don't take responsibility for the people. Their whole thing is greed. Their whole thing is a lust for power and a desire to control everybody else so that they don't have to face themselves and what they're doing. It's all an escapist mentality. And that escapist mentality permeates human culture at every level. Do you understand? It's not the 99% versus the 1% or any such thing. It's the 100%. We do this together. There are solutions. There are peaceful solutions, but not by skirting our responsibility to become involved. We have a responsibility to hold our governments in check, to make our institutions serve us. We have the power to do that. We've always had that power. Is it going to change in 2012? I can't tell you the answer to that because I don't know. It has the potential to change. I no longer see that there's going to be an instantaneous change where everything shifts. But I'd like to see a big enough domino fall that starts it moving in the right direction so that we can educate the people. We can learn the law. There are laws. There are natural laws on the book that are codified even in the matrix system. There are human rights that are recognized, not enforced, but recognized on paper by the United Nations, by our various countries. They exist, folks, but they're not implemented because it gets in the way of the people that are greedy, the people that want power and control. I hope you see what I'm saying. There are solutions, but not without responsibility, not without a willingness to be involved. That is the sine qua non, the not without which. We're not going to get where we want to go unless enough of us are willing to do what we need to do. We have the power. We have the ability. I hope that sometime in this next month before the year ends, that something happens that wakes people up at a more profound measure than what has happened so far. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I'd like to see it happen. I leave you with these thoughts this morning. Pots, pans, and other solutions. The truth is, without taking responsibility, there are no solutions. Namaste.